I never thought I'd spend my 68th birthday in a dusty old garage, the air thick with motor oil and memories. Yet there I was, fumbling with a strange key in the dark, my son's cruel words ringing in my ears. "You're just a useless old woman, Mom. What would you even do with a real inheritance?" Dad knew that. Tears stunned my eyes as I struggled to see. My hands shook as I slid the key into the rusty lock. The creaky door groaned as I pushed it open, my flashlight slicing through years of darkness. Then I saw it. My breath caught, and I froze. This couldn't be right. This wasn't what Daniel meant when he left me just a garage in his will. Let me explain how I ended up here, homeless on my birthday, clutching a suitcase with the remnants of my 42-year marriage. Earlier that day, I stood next to my son, Jonathan, in our lawyer's office. He wore a sharp suit. I wore the black dress from Daniel's funeral 3 weeks ago. Mr. Hoffman, our attorney for years, looked uneasy as he prepared to read the will. "Before we start," he said, adjusting his glasses, "everything is legally binding, exactly as Mr. Campbell wanted." I should have seen that as a red flag. The reading was a blur, but some words hit hard. To Jonathan, Daniel left our Los Angeles penthouse and his main investment portfolio. Then, almost like an afterthought, to me, Sharon Campbell, he left a property at 1420 Industrial Parkway, a garage and its contents. A garage. After 42 years together, my husband left me a garage. Jonathan's face lit up with barely hidden glee. His hand gripped my shoulder too tightly as he whispered, "Don't worry, Mom. I'll take care of you." I was too shocked to speak, too confused to ask why Daniel did this or where I was supposed to go. That evening, the truth hit like a slap. Jonathan drove me back to what I thought was still my home, the penthouse Daniel and I shared for 15 years. As soon as we walked in, he dropped my suitcase in the entryway. "You need to find somewhere else to stay, Mom." I stared, not understanding. "What do you mean?" "The penthouse is mine now. It's in the will." His voice was cold, practiced, like he was closing a business deal. "I'm having colleagues over tomorrow to plan turning Dad's study into an office. I need to start changing things. But where am I supposed to go?" My voice sounded small, lost. He shrugged, careless. "Maybe Aunt Helen's? Or that garage Dad left you." His laugh cut deep, a cruel edge I'd never heard. "Why he gave you that dump, I'll never know. What are you going to do, open a repair shop at your age?" Something broke inside me, a piece of the life I thought I knew. "Jonathan, this is my home. Your father and I." "It's not your home anymore," he snapped. "It's mine." Dad made that clear. I grabbed a chair to steady myself. "I need time to figure this out. You can't expect me to leave tonight." That's when he said it, words that haunted me as I drove aimlessly through the city, ending up in an industrial district, staring at a rundown garage with a padlock. "You're just a useless old woman, Mom. What would you even do with a real inheritance?" Dad knew that. His cruelty stunned me, so unlike the son I thought I'd raised. I grabbed my suitcase, purse, and the key from Mr. Hoffman and left without a word. Now, standing in that dark garage, my flashlight revealed something I never expected. Not junk or old tools, but 3 vehicles under custom covers, perfectly arranged. A glint of silver caught my eye, stopping my heart. It was the grille of a vintage Aston Martin, shining like a beacon in the dark. What was this? Why had Daniel hidden this from me all these years? Curious and confused, I stepped closer, about to uncover a gift from my husband I'd completely misunderstood. My hands shook as I pulled the cover off the Aston Martin. A 1964 DB5, silver birch, just like the one in Daniel's favorite James Bond films, gleamed as if brand new. "Daniel," I whispered, "what were you up to?" In 42 years of marriage, he never mentioned cars. No hint of this secret passion or investment. I didn't know what to call it. I moved to the next vehicle, heart racing, and lifted its cover. A 1956 Mercedes-Benz 300 SL Gullwing, its sleek blue body and unique doors flawless, sparkled under my flashlight. The third was a 1967 Ferrari 275 GTB/4, its red hue like the wine Daniel picked for our anniversaries. Each car had a leather folder with papers, provenance, maintenance, purchase records. I wasn't an expert, but these weren't just cars. They were treasures, worth more than I could guess. "There's got to be an answer," I said, my voice loud in the quiet garage. Then I saw it, an envelope with my name in Daniel's handwriting, taped by a light switch. My fingers trembled as I grabbed it and flipped the switch. Bright LEDs lit up the garage, revealing a pristine space with climate control, custom floors, and security. This wasn't a dump, it was a sanctuary for cars. I sat on a leather bench, the envelope heavy in my hands. I broke the seal and pulled out pages of Daniel's familiar stationery. "My dearest Sharon, if you're reading this, I'm gone, and you've found my final gift. I'm sorry for the shock and confusion. The secrecy wasn't to hurt you but to protect what I built for your future. 6 years ago, my heart failure diagnosis gave me 5 years at best. I outlived that by a year, but I knew our time was short. I had to ensure you'd be okay." I stopped, tears blurring the words. Daniel hid how serious his illness was, always saying he had time. I never knew he was planning for the end. "I know you're wondering why I left the penthouse to Jonathan, not you. It kept me up more nights than my health did. Over the years, I saw our son change. The ambitious boy we raised grew hard, calculating, not what I hoped he'd become. I worried what would happen if I left everything to you both or split it evenly. Jonathan would control your share, claiming it was for your benefit. I've heard how he dismisses you when he thinks I'm not listening." A tear fell on the letter, smudging the ink. I never knew Daniel saw Jonathan's dismissive attitude. I'd brushed it off, blaming his busy job or stress. Daniel's letter continued. "I planned this split inheritance carefully. Jonathan got the penthouse and investments he'd value, status symbols. But you, my love, have the real treasure. These cars are worth $12 million. Their papers prove it, and Marcus Wetherb, my trusted dealer, will help you decide what to do." His contacts included $12 million? I stared at the shining cars, their surfaces gleaming under the lights. That seemed impossible. The cars are only the start. Check the safe behind our Venice photo, use our anniversary as the code. You'll find papers for properties I bought over 6 years, now in a trust for you. Bank accounts are there too, ensuring you're comfortable for life. My hands trembled so much I set the letter down. A safe? I spotted the photo, Daniel and me laughing on the Rialto Bridge for our 35th anniversary. I stood, wobbly, and entered our anniversary date. The safe clicked open, revealing a thick portfolio and labeled USB drives. The top page read Estate of Daniel Campbell, Asset Inventory for Sharon Campbell. I opened it and sank down, dizzy. Seattle apartments, Chicago offices, a California vineyard, stocks, bonds, the total value was unreal. I grabbed Daniel's letter again, fingers numb. "I'm sorry for keeping this secret. It began as a way to ease my fears. As it grew, I worried Jonathan might meddle if he knew. Why not a simpler plan? I wanted to test Jonathan's character. If he cares for you, you might share this with him. If not, this is your independence, your freedom." A sob escaped. Daniel had predicted Jonathan's cruelty when he got the penthouse. Inheritance reveals character, what we get and what we think we deserve. Jonathan's being tested. You, my love, get the freedom to live as you choose, owing no one. All my love, always, Daniel. I clutched the letter, tears falling. After 42 years, I thought I knew Daniel completely. Now I saw his love's true depth. Surrounded by millions in cars, the irony hit. Hours ago, Jonathan called me useless, thinking he'd gotten the real prize. He was so wrong. I slept that night on a leather sofa in a small office inside the garage. Morning showed Daniel's care. The office had a bathroom, shower, stocked fridge, and clothes in my size, tags on. Daniel knew I might need a temporary home. Daylight revealed the garage wasn't run down but a high-tech sanctuary with security, climate control, and lighting. Its shabby outside hid the treasures within. After eating granola bars and water, I called Marcus Wetherb. He answered quickly, his British accent warm. "Mrs. Campbell, I've been waiting for you." "Thank you," I said, voice raw. "I'm overwhelmed. I just found the garage last night. Daniel said you'd be shocked. I'm here to help. Shall I visit?" 2 hours later, Marcus pulled up in a simple sedan, silver-haired and dressed in tweed. "Mrs. Campbell, a pleasure, though I wish it were happier." Over his coffee, he explained. Daniel started buying these cars 6 years ago, choosing each for authenticity and value. "Why cars?" I asked. He never cared about them beyond our family car. Marcus smiled. He said cars are art, engineering, history, tangible gifts you could touch, not just numbers. My throat tightened. That was so Daniel. "The collection's worth $12 million, Marcus said. "These cars are top investments, and their value's rising." "What do I do with them?" I asked. "Sell them, keep them, drive them, though driving lowers their value." He paused. "No rush." Daniel paid for storage and maintenance for 5 years. When Marcus left, promising to help anytime, I sat in the quiet garage. Yesterday, I felt homeless, betrayed by my son and husband. Now I was wealthy, with options I never dreamed of. I had nowhere to go but this strange garage with its hidden comforts. All day, I pored over the portfolio from the safe, slowly grasping the scope of Daniel's secret financial plans. Beyond the cars, he'd built a collection of properties and investments, all set to transfer to me smoothly after his death. One document stood out, a deed for a charming cottage in Carmel, a coastal town we'd loved visiting. Daniel bought it 4 years ago, fully furnished, ready for me. I had a real home, not just this garage, no matter how valuable its contents. As evening fell, my phone rang, Jonathan's number. I paused, then answered, curious about what he'd say after his cruelty. "Mom, where are you?" His voice dripped with irritation, not concern. "Aunt Helen said you haven't called her." "I'm fine, Jonathan," I said calmly. "I found a place to stay." "Well, I need you to grab your stuff from the penthouse. Designers start tomorrow, and it needs to be cleared out." No apology, just more demands, as if his harsh words never happened. "I see," I said, a strange calm washing over me. "When works for you?" "Tomorrow before 9. I'm booked all day." I glanced at the documents, proof of Daniel's love and planning. I thought of my son, so quick to discard me. Then I decided. "I'll be there," I said. After hanging up, I called Marcus, asking for an estate attorney recommendation. By nightfall, I'd booked meetings with a lawyer and financial advisor for the next afternoon. I spent my second night in the garage office, more at ease than the first. My mind wasn't spinning anymore, it was planning. I thought of Daniel, carefully crafting this protection for me, keeping it secret to shield it from Jonathan. "You knew him better than I did," I whispered to Daniel's memory, drifting off. "Our own son." It hurt, but it clarified things. Daniel's oddwill wasn't rejection, it was love and foresight, sacrificing our final years to ensure my independence. Tomorrow, I'd face Jonathan again, gather what treasures remained in our old home, and start the life Daniel planned for me. As I fell asleep, I wondered how Jonathan would react if he knew what this worthless garage held. That reveal, if it came, would be on my terms. For now, I was the underestimated useless old woman with a secret fortune and a resolve to honor Daniel's gift. The next morning, I reached the penthouse at 8:45, dressed in a sharp navy pantsuit from the garage closet, my hair neatly styled. Small acts of defiance, but they steadied me for what was coming. Jonathan opened the door, phone in hand, barely looking at me as I stepped into our home of 15 years. It felt colder, emptier. My decorations were gone, family photos removed, leaving blank spots on the walls. Finally, he pocketed his phone. I boxed most of your stuff. Designers arrive at 9:30, so let's make this quick. No greeting, no concern about where I'd been after he threw me out, just focus on his schedule. Good morning, Jonathan, I said, my voice steady. I see you've started redecorating. He shrugged, leading me to the bedroom where boxes sat on my side of the bed. No point waiting. This place needs an overhaul to boost its value. Its value? I asked. You're planning to sell it? It's too big for one person, and the market's hot. I'll renovate, live here a year, then flip it for a big profit. His casual dismissal of our home stung, but I nodded. And Daniel's things? He waved at boxes in the corner. Kept the Rolex and cufflinks. The rest is clothes and old man stuff. Take what you want, the rest goes to donation. Old man stuff, I echoed, moving to the boxes. Inside were Daniel's books, his vintage pens, the sweater I gave him last Christmas, still faintly smelling of him. Treasures my son called worthless. I sorted carefully, choosing what mattered, while Jonathan paced, checking his watch. Can't you speed this up? He snapped. It's just stuff, Mom. You don't even have a place for it. I looked at him, seeing the man he'd become, handsome like Daniel, but cold, lacking his father's warmth. When had ambition turned him so hollow? I have a place, I said softly. And I'll take the time I need. These aren't just things, Jonathan. They're memories. He rolled his eyes. Fine. I have calls to make. Be done by 9:30. He stormed out, leaving me alone. Sorting through the boxes, I grieved, not just for Daniel, but for the son I thought I knew. Had he always been this cruel, and I'd just made excuses? Daniel saw it, though, clear enough to build a plan to protect me from our own son. When I finished, I found Jonathan in Daniel's study, now half empty. His father's mahogany desk was gone, replaced by a cold glass and chrome table that looked like a spaceship. I'm done, I said from the doorway. He glanced up from his laptop. Good. Need help getting stuff downstairs? I can call the doorman. Thanks, I said, pausing. I'd like a moment to say goodbye to this place. 15 years of memories deserve that. Something flickered in his eyes, irritation, maybe guilt, but he nodded. Sure. Lock up when you're done. I'm meeting the designers downstairs. He brushed past me, leaving me alone in the hollow penthouse. I walked through each room, silently saying goodbye to the life Daniel and I shared. In our bedroom, I opened the closet, touching the last of Daniel's clothes Jonathan hadn't boxed up yet. In the closet's corner, I spotted Daniel's old leather messenger bag, tucked away like a secret. I pulled it out and found a sealed envelope inside with my name and a note, Sharon, this is a backup of everything in the garage safe, just in case. My clever husband, always planning ahead. I slipped the envelope into my purse, a precious find from this last visit. With the doorman's help, I loaded my things into my car and glanced back at the penthouse. Loss and freedom mixed in my chest. This place held memories, joyful and painful, but it was never truly mine like Daniel's garage and its treasures. I drove straight to Patricia Winter's law office, the attorney Marcus recommended. She was a sharp woman in her 50s, her confident presence instantly reassuring. Mrs. Campbell, she said, shaking my hand. Your husband's estate plan is remarkable. I'm still wrapping my head around it, I admitted, sitting across from her. Everything's in order, solid trusts, clean transfers. He had excellent counsel. She leaned in. What do you want to do now? I thought carefully. Secure my future, find a permanent home, understand my finances fully. I paused. And figure out how to handle my son. Patricia nodded. Given what you've told me, that last part might be trickiest. Have you decided if you'll tell him about your inheritance? Not yet, I said. Part of me wants him to think I only have a worthless garage, to face the consequences of his actions. But I'm not sure that's right. No need to rush, she said. Let's focus on settling you first. Visit the Carmel cottage soon. If it suits you, you can move in right away. After 2 hours, I had a plan: see the Carmel cottage, meet Daniel's financial team, and take my time with the cars and assets. As I left, my phone buzzed. Jonathan. Designers love the space. Full gut renovation. Dropped your photo albums at Helen's since you didn't take them. No concern for me, no asking if I wanted those memories, just tossing them aside. I didn't reply. Instead, I booked a Carmel hotel for the night. It was time to see the home Daniel left me, my true inheritance. Driving down the coastal highway, a weight lifted. For the first time since Daniel's death, I wasn't just reacting, I was moving forward with purpose. The drive to Carmel eased my aching heart. Highway 1 curved along cliffs, the Pacific sparkling below, and I breathed easier than I had in weeks. The afternoon sun bathed everything in gold, like a warm welcome to this new chapter. I navigated Carmel's quaint downtown, past charming cottages and boutiques, to a quiet, tree-lined street. The GPS announced my arrival at a stone cottage, half hidden by cypress trees. It wasn't grand but radiated charm, with a wooden gate and a flagstone path through a tidy garden. Using the key from the documents, I opened the Dutch door and stepped inside. The interior stopped me cold. Every detail felt made for me. The living room had bookshelves around a stone fireplace, cozy seating in my favorite colors, and hardwood floors with woven rugs, lit by big windows. I wandered, awestruck. The kitchen mixed modern and classic, with a nook overlooking the garden. The bedroom, small but cozy, opened to a patio with an ocean view. But the study broke me. Above a simple desk hung a watercolor of the Venice Canal where Daniel proposed, a replica of one we'd lost years ago. Tears fell, not from despair but from release. Daniel had crafted this home with love, choosing details to comfort me even now. I sank into a window seat, cushioned in my favorite blue, watching daylight fade through the trees. For the first time since the will, I felt truly home. A knock pulled me from my thoughts. At the door stood Margaret Winters, a kind woman in her 70s, holding a covered dish. You must be Sharon, she said warmly. I'm Margaret, your neighbor. Daniel asked me to watch for you. You knew Daniel? I asked, surprised. She nodded, handing me the dish. He visited to set up the cottage. I was one of the few who knew. He said not to contact you until you arrived. It's just a casserole, no cooking tonight. Touched by Daniel's care, I took it. Thank you. Want to come in? Over tea, Margaret shared more. Daniel was so careful to get this right, bringing photos of your city home to match your style. I had no idea, I said. He kept it all secret. He said it was for your protection, she replied, not prying. He thought you might need a friend when you got here, someone who's rebuilt after loss. You've lost someone? I asked. My husband, 8 years ago, she said softly. It changes, not easier, but good neighbors help. When Margaret left, promising to introduce me to others later, I saw Daniel's thoroughness. He'd planned for my finances, home, and even my emotional needs. That night, I slept deeply in the cottage's cozy bedroom, soothed by distant waves and a grandfather clock ticking like one from my childhood. In the morning, I explored more. In the study desk, I found a folder with local contacts, doctors, services, even a paid library membership in my name. In the desk, I found a note from Daniel, written 3 months before he died. My dearest Sharon, if you're reading this, you've reached Carmel and the home I hope brings you peace. I wish I could share this chapter with you, watching sunsets in the garden, strolling the beach in morning fog. This change can't be easy, some by choice, some beyond your control. But I've always admired your strength, even when you doubted it. The cottage is yours to live in, visit, or sell. My hope is it gives you a fresh start, free from burdens that don't spark joy. Love always, Daniel. I held the note close, feeling both heartbroken and deeply loved. Daniel was still guiding me, urging me to choose my path, not just honor his memory. Over 3 days, I settled into a rhythm, morning beach walks, exploring Carmel's shops and cafes, meeting neighbors Margaret introduced. Each night, I returned to a cottage that felt more like mine. On the 4th day, sipping coffee in the garden, my phone rang. Jonathan. I hesitated, recalling our last painful call, then answered. Hello, Jonathan, I said evenly. Mom, where are you? His tone was sharp, impatient. Aunt Helen says you're not with her, and you're not at Ruth's. I'm taking time for myself, I said. I found a place to stay. What does that mean? What place? You can't just vanish. I'm not sharing that now, I replied, my firmness surprising me. Did you need something specific? A pause, then his business-like tone. Yes. I found Dad's papers hinting at investments not in the will. There might be hidden accounts or properties. My pulse quickened, but I stayed calm. Oh. What kind of hints? Nothing clear, just notes about meetings with advisors I don't know. Cryptic stuff about future assets. Do you know anything? Dad handled our finances, I said truthfully. If there were more assets, Mr. Hoffman would have mentioned them. Maybe, he said, skeptical. When are you back in the city? We should talk in person. The penthouse is under renovation, but we can meet somewhere. I don't know when I'll return, I said honestly. I need this time. His frustration crackled. Mom, this is absurd. You can't disappear without telling anyone. What if there's an emergency? I'm fine, Jonathan. I'm not wandering or alone. I'm just processing everything. This isn't like you, he snapped. Dad leaves you nothing, and you vanish. People will talk. I nearly laughed at the irony. Let them, Jonathan. I don't care about gossip anymore. I ended the call with vague promises to reconnect later, then sat in the garden, thinking. Jonathan was sniffing around, suspecting more assets. How long before he found the truth? And what would I do then? Daniel's question from his letter haunted me. Had Jonathan earned a share of this wealth? His actions only confirmed Daniel's fears. But could the kind boy I once knew still be in there, buried under ambition? I had no answers, but the cottage, like Daniel's love, gave me strength to wait for them. It offered more than shelter, it restored my trust in my own judgment. 2 weeks into life at the cottage, I found a comfortable routine. Mornings meant coffee in the garden or beach walks when fog lifted. Afternoons were for meetings with advisors, learning about Daniel's properties and my new reality. Daniel's planning amazed me. The cottage was just one piece of a plan for my independence. Income properties brought steady revenue, and investments were set for stability, not risky growth. Your husband was meticulous, said Howard Lent, Daniel's secret financial advisor, as we reviewed trust statements in his Monterey office. Most focus on building wealth. Daniel cared about systems that wouldn't overwhelm you unless you wanted to dive in. He knew finance wasn't my strength, I admitted. Howard smiled. He said you had sharp judgment about people and an instinct for value he deeply respected. Hearing how Daniel spoke of me touched me deeply. Even in secrecy, he believed in me. There's one thing, Howard added, his tone shifting. Jonathan Campbell has been asking about additional accounts or investments beyond the will. My grip tightened on my teacup. What did he want? He's fishing for info on undisclosed assets. I told him confidentiality prevents discussion without authorization. Thank you, I said, relieved. Jonathan got his inheritance. Daniel was clear about the rest. Howard nodded. We'll keep that stance, but he's persistent, contacting firms tied to your husband's investments. That didn't surprise me. Jonathan's tenacity fueled his business success but turned to entitlement with family. Thanks for the heads up, I said. I'm still figuring out how to deal with him. Driving back to Carmel, I thought about Jonathan's digging. His vague suspicions were growing sharper. How long before he found the garage, the cottage, the full scope of Daniel's plan? And what would I do then? Back at the cottage, I saw a luxury SUV outside, its license plate reading J. Campbell. My stomach dropped. Jonathan stood on my doorstep, arms crossed, his face a mix of smugness and accusation. Found you, he said as I approached. Nice place, Mom. When were you going to tell me about it? I kept my voice steady, though my heart raced. Hello, Jonathan. This wasn't expected. I bet, he said, eyeing the cottage. Care to explain how you own property in one of California's priciest coastal towns? I unlocked the door, motioning him inside. No need for a scene in front of neighbors. Come in. Jonathan followed, his sharp eyes scanning the cottage, as if pricing every detail in his head. Nice place, he said, his tone making it sound like an insult. So this is why you've dodged my calls, hiding in a secret vacation home. I'm not hiding, Jonathan. I'm dealing with big changes and figuring out my next steps. I set my purse down and faced him. How did you find me? He smirked, cold. I'm not clueless, Mom. When you vanished, I hired a private investigator. Just checking on an elderly parent who seemed confused after her husband's death. His calculated jab, framing me as frail to justify his snooping, hit hard. I see. So your investigator tracked me here. Yeah. Property records were enlightening. Dad bought this place 4 years ago, kept it off his books. His eyes narrowed, hinting at more secrets he suspected. I moved to the kitchen, filling the kettle to steady myself. Daniel had his reasons for the will. This cottage was a surprise. A surprise, he echoed, leaning in the doorway. Like that useless garage. Another of Dad's surprises. My hands froze on the kettle. He knew about the garage. How much did he know about what was inside? The garage was part of his estate, I said cautiously. Right, the mystery garage no one explained. His voice sharpened. I went there yesterday, Mom. The door was locked, but dirty windows let me peek inside when the light hit right. I kept my face blank, heart pounding. And? I saw cars. Vintage ones, from what I could tell. His jaw clenched. Cars worth more than the penthouse Dad left me, a penthouse with maintenance fees I can't cover since most liquid assets are locked in trusts I can't touch. There it was. He'd glimpsed the cars but not their full value or the other assets. Dad made his choices, Jonathan. The penthouse and portfolio are generous gifts. Gifts? He laughed bitterly. The penthouse needs massive repairs I only found after starting renovations. The portfolio barely covers my debts. Meanwhile, you're in a Carmel cottage with classic cars worth a fortune. I poured hot water into the teapot, the routine calming me. What do you want, Jonathan? The truth, he snapped. Did you know about these assets? Were you and Dad scheming to manipulate the inheritance? No, I said firmly, meeting his eyes. I learned about the cottage and garage after Dad died. I was as shocked as you. He blinked, caught off guard. Then why hide it from me? Why vanish instead of explaining? I needed time to process, I said honestly. And your actions after the will reading didn't inspire trust or teamwork. He flinched, then rallied. I was upset. Finding out Dad basically disinherited me for you. Disinherited? I said, incredulous. He gave you a multi-million-dollar penthouse and accounts worth millions. A fraction of what he hid. His voice rose. Those cars alone, what are they worth, Mom? I raised an eyebrow. How would you know their value unless you've been digging deeper than you're admitting? He looked sheepish for a moment. I know people in the collector car world. Made some quiet inquiries based on what I saw. Of course, I sighed, tired of the games. Want tea? If we're talking, let's keep it civil. My offer cooled his anger. He nodded, sitting at the nook while I poured 2 cups. As we sat, I saw something new in Jonathan's eyes under his outrage, vulnerability, maybe fear. Was there more to his pursuit than greed? Jonathan, I said softly, why does this matter so much? You have a career, a home, wealth most only dream of. Why care about Dad's other assets? He stared at his tea, avoiding me. It's not just the money. Then what? He looked up, and I saw the boy he once was, craving approval. It's what it means. Dad trusted you with these secrets, not me. There it was, not greed, but hurt. He saw Daniel's plan as rejection, not protection for me. Oh, Jonathan, I said. It wasn't about trust. Dad was securing us both, just differently. By hiding millions from me, he shot back, bitterness returning. Making it look like he left you nothing but a worthless garage. I sipped my tea, weighing how much to share. The moment had come faster than I'd planned, forcing a choice I wasn't ready for. How much of Dad's reasons could I reveal? How much truth could Jonathan handle? Afternoon light spilled through the cottage windows, casting shadows across the table where Jonathan and I sat in tense silence. His face, so like Daniel's, lacked the warmth that always softened my husband's eyes. There's a letter, I said at last. From Dad. It explains his choices better than I can. Jonathan stiffened. A letter? You've had this and didn't share it? It was for me, Jonathan. After how you treated me post-will, calling me useless and kicking me out, I wasn't eager to share something so personal. He looked away, a flicker of guilt crossing his face. I was upset. People say things they don't mean when emotions run high. I looked at Jonathan softly. Do they? Or do raw emotions just show what's usually hidden? He didn't answer, waving his hand. This letter? Is it here? I walked to the study, grabbing Daniel's original letter from the garage and the copy from his bag. Back in the kitchen, I paused before handing him the copy. Before you read, know this, Dad loved you, Jonathan. His choices weren't to hurt you, only to protect what mattered. Let me decide that, he said, snatching the letter eagerly. I watched his face shift as he read, anticipation, disbelief, then anger. His hands gripped the paper, knuckles white, as he hit the part about Daniel's worries over his character. He set the letter down slowly, like he might break if he moved too fast. So, he said, voice low, Dad thought I was too greedy, too selfish for the family fortune. He was worried about how your values shifted, I said gently. And how you'd handle control over my finances. His voice rose, sharp. So his fix was to trick me? Make me think I got the big prize while sneaking the real wealth to you? Do you know how humiliating this is? I stayed seated, calm. Your father made choices based on years of watching you, not just a moment. If his view seems harsh, maybe reflect on it, don't just reject it. He paced the kitchen, tense. Reflect? You want me to reflect on being painted as a heartless monster by my own dad? That's not what the letter says, I said. It's about concerns, not a final verdict on who you are. He stopped, staring at me, stunned. You're defending this? He left you a fortune, set me up to fail his moral test by expecting what the will promised. He wasn't wrong. Daniel had designed a test of character, and Jonathan's actions after the will proved Daniel's fears right. So, I said carefully, what now? He gave a bitter laugh. Simple. As Dad's heir, I can challenge this setup. Hidden assets, secret trusts, it looks like he dodged fair inheritance. I'd expected this. Dad's legal setup is airtight, Jonathan. The assets were his to give, all properly documented. Contesting it would be costly, long, and likely pointless. You sound sure for someone who knew nothing about money, he shot back. I've had weeks with top advisors, I said evenly. The ones who helped Dad plan this. Jonathan leaned on the counter, back to me. Silence hung heavy. When he turned, his face was cold, calculating, a look I'd seen in his business deals. What about a deal, he said, voice smooth. A fairer split that respects Dad's wishes but acknowledges me as his son. Maybe half the assets. No, I said, surprising us both with my steal. I won't negotiate Dad's final wishes. These assets aren't just money, Jonathan. They're his care, his plan to keep me free from depending on anyone, including you. So that's it, he snapped. You keep it all, backed by Dad's paranoid ideas about me. I stood, meeting his gaze. What I do with these assets depends on many things, but your entitlement isn't helping your case. My case, he sneered. So I'm on trial now, too? Yes, in a way, I said honestly. Dad's letter gave me the choice to share if you showed certain qualities. Your actions since his death, especially toward me, shaped that choice. My words hit hard. He stared, like he didn't know me. Maybe he didn't. The passive mom he took for granted was gone, replaced by one with firm boundaries. You're serious, he said finally. You'll hold Dad's fortune over me, judging if I pass your moral test. I'll honor Dad's wishes, I said, which meant protecting these assets from being wasted or misused. He grabbed his keys. This isn't over. Not by a long shot. Jonathan, I called as he reached the door. Before you run to lawyers, think, what if Dad was right? What if the inheritance you got was meant to make you see truths about yourself? He paused, not looking back. Save the lectures, Mom. I'm done with Campbell family wisdom for today. The door slammed. I sank into my chair, drained. The fight went as I'd feared, Jonathan fixated on what he thought was his, ignoring his own cruelty. But I saw his hurt, too, the pain of a son feeling judged by his father. It was real, even if his reaction was wrong. I made fresh tea and went to the garden, seeking peace in the breeze and sunlight. Daniel's letter had warned me of this moment, preparing me for Jonathan's response. It didn't prepare me for the burden of judging his character, of holding the power Daniel gave me. My phone buzzed. Margaret. Saw your son leave fast. You okay? Making lasagna if you want company. Her kindness brought tears. Company sounds great, I texted. Tough afternoon. As the sun dipped toward the Pacific, I thought about what was next. Jonathan would likely call lawyers, but they'd find his fight futile. The real question was whether this would push him deeper into resentment or spark the reflection Daniel hoped for. I had choices to make, about the cars, the properties, and what, if anything, to share with Jonathan. Daniel had given me not just wealth but responsibility, trusting my judgment in a way that both lifted and weighed on me. For now, I'd eat with my new friend, build my life in this cottage, and give Jonathan time to face his anger, hoping the kind boy we raised might still be there, ready to resurface. 3 months after Jonathan stormed out of the cottage, autumn settled over Carmel. Mornings grew cooler, the light softened along the coast, and the village streets quieted as tourists thinned. I found a rhythm that felt like home, tending the cottage, exploring my new community, and handling Daniel's vast legacy. With Patricia Winter's help, I managed the properties and investments smoothly. The cars stayed safe in the garage, cared for by Marcus Weatherb's team. I drove the Aston Martin once, a thrilling coastal ride that made me feel closer to Daniel, like sharing a piece of his heart. Jonathan and I barely spoke, exchanging stiff emails about practical things. As Patricia predicted, his legal threats to contest the will faded when lawyers confirmed Daniel's plan was ironclad. His latest email, 2 weeks ago, was cold, asking for family photos and papers with no word about how I was doing. I was trimming roses in the garden when an unfamiliar car pulled up. A tall, polished woman stepped out, holding a business card with purpose. "Mrs. Campbell, I'm Diane Reeves, Jonathan's assistant. Can we talk briefly?" Her tense, urgent vibe worried me. "Of course. Is something wrong?" She glanced around, cautious. "Could we speak inside?" In the living room, Diane sat stiffly on the sofa, refusing tea. "Mrs. Campbell, Jonathan's hit some major setbacks. He sent me because he thought you might not take his call." "What setbacks?" I asked, though I suspected the answer. "Financial ones," she said, opening a slim folder. "The penthouse renovations cost double what he planned. Hidden structural issues needed big repairs." I nodded, unsurprised. Daniel had warned about the building's aging systems years ago, but Jonathan brushed off maintenance as a waste. And, Diane went on, his main investment tanked. He poured money into a development project that hit regulatory snags. "It's complicated, but he's facing huge losses with no cash to cover them." "I see," I said, keeping my face neutral. I'd half expected this. Jonathan always chased big wins, not steady gains. "How does this involve me?" Diane shifted, uneasy. "Jonathan needs financial help. He knows you have resources to prevent bankruptcy and save the penthouse." There it was, the plea I'd braced for since our fight. Not an apology or reconciliation, but a money request sent through a proxy to dodge embarrassment. "Has he thought about selling the penthouse?" I asked. "Even mid-renovation, it could clear his debts." "He's tried," Diane said. "But in its current state, it'd sell at a loss. Plus, issues with contractors complicate a quick sale." Meaning Jonathan likely soured the crew with demands or payment disputes, creating more hurdles. "Thanks for explaining," I said after a pause. "Tell Jonathan I've heard him and will think it over." Diane blinked, caught off guard by my vague reply. "Mrs. Campbell, it's urgent. Foreclosure could start in weeks." "I understand," I said firmly, but not coldly. "I need time to decide. That's all for now." I showed the uneasy assistant out and sat in the garden, mulling Jonathan's mess. Daniel's letter seemed like a prophecy now, predicting Jonathan's risky choices would lead to this. Next morning, instead of calling Jonathan, I drove to the city to see the penthouse myself. The doorman, knowing me from years there, let me up without notice. What I saw was grim. Our elegant home was gutted, bare wires, exposed pipes, a dangerous mess. Dusty tools sat untouched, and costly marble and fixtures were piled carelessly, some damaged. Walking through the wreckage, I felt a mix of grief for lost memories, frustration at Jonathan's mismanagement, and gratitude for Daniel's foresight in shielding me from his financial chaos. I was inspecting water damage spreading from the bathroom when the door opened. "Mom," Jonathan called. "The doorman said you were here." He stood in the doorway, looking worn. His pricey clothes were wrinkled, his face gaunt from sleepless nights, echoing Daniel in tough times. "I had to see it myself," I said, waving at the chaos. He ran a hand through his hair, a frustrated move from his childhood. "Diane told you yesterday, I assume." "She did," I confirmed. I needed the full picture before deciding. I stepped around broken fixtures. "This isn't what you described when you started renovating." He gave a bitter laugh. "Yeah, well, plans fail, in construction and life. What happened with the investment?" I asked gently, my tone piercing his defenses. He slumped onto an overturned bucket, exhausted. I went all in. The project, luxury condos in a hot area, seemed a sure thing. Strong pre-sales. I borrowed against everything, including the penthouse's future value. Then an environmental review found contamination nobody disclosed. Cleanup costs killed the project. Investors bailed. He waved at the mess. It all collapsed. Why didn't you call sooner? I asked. Before it got this bad? His face tightened. After our last talk, after learning Dad's scheme and your part in it, pride, or stubbornness, kept me silent. Campbell traits. Strong ones, I said, recalling Daniel's own pride-fueled missteps. So, Jonathan said, his voice taut with hope, will you help me? I met his eyes. I'll help, Jonathan, but not with a blank check to pay your debts, and not without conditions. Relief and exhaustion mixed in Jonathan's face. What conditions? We'll talk properly, I said, stepping toward the door. Not here, amid your rushed choices. Come to Carmel tomorrow. We'll discuss a plan for your crisis and the habits that caused it. He looked ready to argue, to demand answers now, but need one out. Fine. Tomorrow. Leaving the wrecked penthouse, the contrast with my serene Carmel cottage hit hard. Jonathan got the flashy inheritance, the penthouse, the status. I got the worthless garage and an unknown cottage. Yet here we were, our fates flipped by Daniel's foresight and Jonathan's mistakes. Tomorrow would bring tough talks and choices. Tonight, I'd return to the cottage Daniel crafted for me, pondering how to balance his concerns with his hopes for our son. Jonathan arrived at 11 sharp the next morning, his polished look a clear attempt to seem in control, despite his unraveling life. I'd prepared all morning, not just mentally but physically, setting up for a serious conversation. Nice view, he said stiffly as I led him to the back patio, where I'd arranged cozy seats and a simple lunch. Dad chose well, I said. He knew I loved the coast. Jonathan's face tightened at Daniel's name, but he stayed quiet, sitting down. The patio overlooked a tidy garden, sloping to glimpses of the Pacific. It was calm, private, a good spot for a hard talk. I poured iced tea and faced him. Before we talk money, I want you to see something. I handed him a leather folder I'd prepared, filled with Daniel's documents. He opened it cautiously, like bracing for bad news. These are penthouse projections and maintenance reports, I said as he skimmed. Dad ordered them 3 years ago, predicting major building issues. They match what you're facing now. Jonathan frowned. He never told me about this. He did, I said gently. You brushed it off as overcautious, a waste of money. He showed you these at Christmas before he got sick. A spark of memory crossed his face. That dull building report he harped on at dinner. Exactly, I said, sipping my tea. Dad wasn't just careful. He was warning you about this mess. Jonathan set the folder down, jaw tight. If you dragged me here to rub it in for Dad. I didn't, I cut in. I'm setting the stage for my decision to help you. Dad saw this coming, not just the building, but your pattern of choices. What pattern? He asked, defensive but curious. Valuing flash over substance, I said plainly. Chasing big wins over steady progress, ignoring warnings is pessimism. The same traits that led you to kick me out instead of considering my needs. He looked ashamed, briefly. I shouldn't have done that. No, I agreed. You shouldn't have. Silence settled, broken only by waves and seabirds. Jonathan shifted, and used to my bluntness. I'd always softened his edges, absorbed his dismissals. So, what's your deal? He asked finally. What conditions? Full transparency first, I said. I need all your accounts, debts, contracts, everything. No secrets, no hidden problems. He nodded, tense. Okay. What else? Professional financial oversight, I continued. Your impulsive choices show shaky judgment. Any help I give will go through trusts with strict management. His face darkened. So, I'll be on a leash like a kid? Like someone who made big mistakes and needs boundaries to recover, I said. It's not punishment, Jonathan. It's to protect you and the assets. And you'll run these trusts? Bitterness crept in. No, I said, surprising him. Independent trustees with legal duties. I don't want to control you, just ensure my help leads to real change, not a quick fix. He wrestled with this, torn between desperation and hating the loss of freedom. What about the penthouse? It's still mine. Selling it makes sense, I said, watching him closely. Even now, it could clear most of your debts. You could start over with something simpler. Sell it? He looked stunned. But it's our family home. It's where you and Dad. It's just a place, I cut in softly. You were quick to gut it months ago. The memories aren't in the walls. He stood, pacing the patio. You don't get it. Selling means admitting I failed. Everyone would know. There it was, his real fear. Not losing the home, but losing face. Image over reality, again. People already know, I said quietly. Construction stopped. Contractors filed liens. The financial world talks. He stopped, shoulders sagging. I've ruined everything, haven't I? His raw vulnerability surprised me. For the first time since Dad died, I saw my son, lost, overwhelmed, facing the fallout of chasing appearances. Not everything, I said gently. But you've made a mess that needs big changes to fix. He slumped back into his chair, drained. What are you offering? A way forward, I said. I'll set up a trust to pay urgent creditors and stop foreclosure. We'll hire experts to finish the renovations or prep the penthouse for sale, based on what's smarter after a full review. And in return? In return, you agree to financial oversight for a set time. You work with a counselor on the habits that led here. I paused, then added firmly, and you make amends for how you treated me after Dad died. His eyes locked on mine. Amends? What does that mean? It means owning the hurt you caused. It means seeing relationships have costs, like money choices do. I leaned in. Jonathan, this isn't just business. It's me, your mom, believing you can rise above your recent actions. My words cut through his walls. He looked away, eyes blinking fast. I didn't mean it that day, he said softly, calling you useless. I was mad, lashing out. Maybe, I said. But those words came from somewhere. They showed an attitude toward me, toward women my age, you've carried for years. He didn't argue, a small win. I need time to think, he said at last. It's a lot. Take it, I replied. But creditors won't wait. Some choices have tight deadlines. An hour later, Jonathan left without a firm yes or no. I'd laid out my offer and terms. He hadn't committed, but something shifted, a first honest step in years. That evening, in the garden as twilight fell over Carmel, I wondered what Daniel would say about my handling it. Too tough? Too soft? No answers, but I felt steady. I wasn't the pushover mom anymore, nor a cold deal maker. I'd found my middle ground. The road ahead was unclear. Jonathan might say no from pride, or yes with hidden grudge. But for once in our grown-up years, I'd spoken plain truth, no softening for his sake or fake peace. Whatever followed would rest on that honesty, no matter how raw. In it, I knew Daniel would see the point of his odd will, not the money split, but the chance for us both to truly see each other. Spring bloomed in Carmel, bursting the cottage garden with colors vivid against the Pacific's blue. 9 months since Daniel's death, 6 since the garage surprise, 4 since Jonathan's money crash forced our showdown. Those 4 months changed everything, beyond what I imagined on that tense patio talk. After 3 silent days post-offer, Jonathan called, simple, I'll do it. All of it. Whatever it takes. The path since wasn't easy. Financial fixes took weeks with accountants and lawyers, uncovering debts worse than he'd admitted. The penthouse needed hard calls, a middle ground, key renovations to sell, covering the worst debts. Tougher was Jonathan's inner work. Therapy on family ties and money mindset started skeptical, but grew into real breakthroughs. Our bond shifted too. We stumbled, but honesty grew on both sides. I was pruning roses by the garden gate when Jonathan's car pulled up. He stepped out with a small package, changed from his slick exec days or desperate wreck. Clothes still fine, but simpler, vibe relaxed. A short beard softened his face, echoing young Daniel. The garden's stunning, he said, kissing my cheek, warm now, not rote. You've made it your own. Building on Dad's start, I said, setting tools aside. Coffee on the patio. As we fell into our monthly routine, ease replaced old strain. He still chafed at trust limits, slipped into old judgments sometimes, but growth showed. Penthouse closes next week, he said, stirring coffee. Walk-through solid. We'll net 40% over distress price, thanks to smart fixes. Great, I said. Gives the trust room for your next moves. About that, he set his cup down. Got an offer from a community group, affordable housing projects. I raised brows, shocked. Jonathan's world was luxury real estate, scoffing at unprofitable low-cost builds. It's a pay cut, he said. But the trust covers basics, and it feels real. Using my skills for more than profits. A big pivot, I said carefully. What sparked it? He looked to the sea. Remember the failed condo deal? Site sold cheap to a nonprofit. They're doing mixed-income homes now, smart, green, thoughtful. I've advised them quietly months, and, he shrugged, shy yet proud. I'm good at it. Development without squeezing every penny. I watched his face light up, real passion. Sounds like it taps more than your business side. Dad'd laugh, he said with a wry smile. Me in affordable housing after chasing high-end? He'd approve, I said softly. He valued skill aimed at good ends. Jonathan nodded, grabbing the package. Speaking of Dad, this came from Penthouse Cleanup. For you. Inside the wrapped box, a wooden case I knew, Daniel's cufflinks and tie pins, ones Jonathan once took. I held onto them for a dad link, he said as I opened it. But lately, I see they're just objects. Real ties aren't things. Under the cufflinks, a velvet pouch with my lost wedding band from the penthouse mess. Found it in Dad's study safe, he said as I slid on the simple gold ring. With this. He passed an envelope, my name in Daniel's script. Inside, a card for our nearing 45th, the first band promised our life. This celebrates what we built. Love always. Clipped, a receipt for a custom eternity band, ordered weeks before Daniel's last hospital stay, a gift he never gave. He planned even then, I whispered, tears rising, always eyeing tomorrow. The jeweler kept it, Jonathan said. I got it for you. From his pocket, a small box. Inside, sapphires and diamonds, delicate, perfect for me. Sunlight hit the stones, scattering rainbows on the table. Oh, Daniel, I breathed, slipping it beside my first ring. Plain gold for starts, gems for our shared road, ideal match. Jonathan waited quietly, giving me this link to Dad. When I looked up, his face held something rare, softness, respect free of rush or schemes. Thank you, I said simply. It means everything. We chatted another hour, his job offer, my garden tweaks, trust updates. At the gate to leave, Jonathan paused. What about those cars? The garage ones Dad left you. I smiled, thinking of Marcus. Keeping the Aston Martin. Dad'd grin knowing I drive it coastally sometimes. Others sell, funds split to financial literacy charity and a trust for your future kids, if any. Future kids, he mused. Optimistic. Dad was, deep down, I said. Under plans, he believed in growth, better selves with right chances. Watching him drive off, I thought of our wild year. Daniel's quirky will seemed unfair at first, but delivered exactly my security, Jonathan's wake-up to life-draining habits. Wounds lingered between us. Lessons weren't flawless. But we'd started fresh, honest, respectful, not forced roles. That night, I took the Aston Martin on the coastal road, engine humming as I hugged turns Daniel never saw. Sunset turned the sea to gold, my ringed hands steered with new sureness. You were right, I said to Daniel's ghost, wind whipping my words, about so much. The junk garage, once my son's slight, reshaped my world and our tie. The lopsided inheritance proved Daniel's last wise, loving stroke for us both. Heading home, my cottage by the sea, Daniel's gift of care, I sensed closure, ends tying, new loops starting. Whatever came, I'd meet it with Daniel's backup, this year's hard-won truths inside, and the clear knowing of my worth leading on. That old garage key, once just for a door, unlocked far more, fresh views of love, legacy, and brave restarts, at any age or bend.